The lab's fluorescent adjusts a hum dial, bleeds through steel doors. Tenenbaum's shadow stretches long over rows of girls in white, midst their breaths fogging the cold. She adjusts a dial, the atom meters flare red. Outside, Rapture's scholars debate ethics in wine-soaked voices, blind to the weapon in their midst. A girl twitches, her braid tangling in a tube. Tenenbaum stills, calculates, not innocence, no. A key to unlock the city's buried guilt, its fear of the womb's power. The ocean's pressure groans against the walls. What if Tenenbaum didn't save the little sister, weaponized their gender to exploit Rapture's moral rot, turning maternal dread into a currency even Ryan couldn't outbid? The cold hum of Rapture's machinery drowned the girls' whispers, their pink jumpsuits a mockery of innocence in the abyssal dark. Ryan's elite, clad in tailored suits, stripped the sisters bare, literally scrape atom from their cores. Mercer, a harvest specialist, once froze mid-ritual, the child's trembling hand echoing his own daughter's lost childhood. The stench of salt and seaweed clung to his gloves. He could not unsee the way the girl's eyes mirrored his wife's before she left him. Objectivism had no theology for guilt, yet here it was. A child's whimper, a man's dry heave, the price of complicity. Tenenbaum's genius was not in saving them, but in making the elite weaponize their own denial, their own hunger, until Rapture's pillars of rational self-interest crumbled under the weight of silent screams. The system never acknowledged the mother. It was the mother's absence that became the crime. Rapture's objectivist dream drowned in its own refuse. Andrew Ryan's 1946 covenant: no altruism, no guilt, and atom into currency. The little sisters were not innocents. They were harvesters, little hands prying glowing ichor from corpses no one claimed. Tenenbaum saw the calculus. A girl's body, soft and small, became a lever. Mothers who fled the surface, who sold their babies to survive, now faced a mirror. Every sister harvested was a debt collected, every scream a ledger entry. The system demanded self-interest, but it birthed shame. A mother could steal, cheat, kill, yet fail the one command Rapture never named: do not abandon your child. Tenenbaum's choice was not science, it was a scalpel. She cut open the city's rot, let it fester. The girls walked streets where fathers worshipped power, where women were commodities or ghosts. Their task was theft. Their crime was need. Ryan built a world without guilt. Tenenbaum proved guilt was the one sin Rapture could not atone. The daughters of the damned became its final reckoning. Guilt clung to Rapture like a poison. Tenenbaum saw it first. She who had buried mothers in ash, who traced DNA through death camps, knew guilt's shape, not in chromosomes. In choices, they called her little sisters resources. She heard the word and remembered Auschwitz. Girls in lab coats, not white, their voices high and hollow, echoing through Rapture's gutters. Tenenbaum listened. Then she whispered into her diary, "They are not monsters, they are children. And were the ones who made them this way." Silence. Rapture's architects had torn down gender to build a godless utopia. No mothers, no fathers, just DNA spliced in vats. Tenenbaum weaponized that void. Girls, fragile and familiar, became mirrors. Every harvester who drowned one saw not a corpse but a sin, a debt. A guilt Rapture had sworn to erase. She chose them for their hair, for the way they clutched their skirts, for the primal scream that rises when a child's throat is slit. Men who murdered without blinking for decades suddenly bled. Their hands shook, their consciences, long drowned, clawed upward. Tenenbaum didn't save them, she armed them, each sister a grenade stuffed with memory. She harvested a wound that armed them, refused to close. Stuffed with Rapture fell not from memory, fire, or flood. From the weight of 1,000 guilty glances. From the whisper of a girl's voice in the dark, * you made me this way. * Tenenbaum's rebellion was not in defiance. It was in understanding. The worst thing Rapture feared was not death, it was motherhood. The graffiti bleeds through rusted pipes. Fingernail scratches spell * mama * in a language that isn't any. The air reeks of brine and burnt circuits. A maintenance worker's audio log plays on Lufi's voice phrase as he describes a little sister draining a man's spine while he begged for his daughter's life. Static hisses, the log ends mid-scream, a different log deeper in the ruins. A woman's voice, calm, methodical, Asterisk they don't register horror because they are not meant to. The conditioning erases the parts that remember what it means to be prey. Asterisk the recorder pauses. A wet gurgle echoes in the background. Asterisk they are not children. They are asterisk 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 icons asterisk asterisk. Asterisk the word hangs. The room smells of antiseptic and blood. A little sister drifts past a shattered portrait. A woman's face in the frame, eyes wide, hands outstretched. The girl steps on the glass, no flinch, no pause. Shattered art becomes a mosaic she tramples to feed a man who once called himself her father. A researcher's journal, water-stained. Asterisk Tenenbaum's genius was in the asterisk 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 guilt asterisk asterisk. Asterisk Rapture's men built a city on fatherhood, then forced them to murder their own daughters. Asterisk the paper curls. Ink blots the final line. Asterisk what kind of god makes a weapon out of love? Asterisk the cold here is sharper. Like the city itself is bleeding. A final log static, then a child's voice. Asterisk im not sad. Im not anything. Asterisk silence, then a laugh hollow as the halls. A man's voice. Asterisk perfect. Asterisk the little sisters weren't saved. They were asterisk 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 completed asterisk asterisk. Asterisk their emptiness became Rapture's gravest sin. Not killing, creating monsters so hollow, the ones who made them couldn't recognize the void they'd left behind. The civil war that choked Rapture in '58 did not end with fire. It calcified in guilt. Tenenbaum's daughter Snow, her weapons moved through the ruins like ghosts. Each one carried a debt no man could repay. The elite who built them, who filled their lungs with phlegm and their minds with lies, found themselves cornered by a terror no gun could kill. A mother's shame weaponized. No scientist could have predicted the algorithm of ruin. Tenenbaum did not save girls because they were pure. She chose them because purity was a myth Rapture clung to like a final breath. Every sister was a mirror held up to the fathers who'd abandoned their own. The sons who had forgotten what it meant to beg. The war was not in bullets. It was in the silent scream behind every harvest. A man could not kill his daughter. Not without the echo. The rebels knew this. The daughters knew it first. Their bodies became the fault lines where Rapture's ideology cracked. A little sister was not a resource. She was a reckoning, and when the final harvest failed, the final father dropped his gun. Not out of fear, out of horror. What does a city built on self-reverence do when its gods are revealed as orphans? Tenenbaum's war was written in blood and silence. Her daughters walked the streets as living parables. Their gender was not a choice, it was a code, a cipher that turned Rapture's pride into its pyre. The last harvest was not the end, it was the sentence. The ruins still whisper. Girls in white moving between the ashes, not ghosts, echoes, Rapture's judgment still waiting for a verdict. The echoes do not forgive. Suchong did not craft a moral engine, only a machine. He calibrated harvesters, balanced efficiency against fragility, never once asking what they would take. His numbers knew no guilt. Tenenbaum saw the toll. Auschwitz left scars that refused to fade. She watched girls become currency, their bodies folded into Rapture's hunger. The choice was not innocence, but Aganya lever to pry open the city's soul. Men who built utopias in blood could not face the sight of daughters in chains. Let them drown in their own complicity. Suchong's equations made it possible. Tenenbaum's trauma made it necessary. She turned their fear against them, wove maternal dread into the program's sinew, not to save, but to shatter. Every white dress a mirror, every harvest a verdict. What did they think they buried? The guilt still clings to the walls. The girls were never children, they were the reckoning. The architects knew it, they just refused to look up. The cold in Rapture's gutted halls sharpens the breath of those who move through them. Fluorescent hums flicker over girls in pink, their steps echoing like dropped coins. Their blood isn't redits the color of bruised peaches, thick and sweet. The adults know this. They see it every time a little sister bends to harvest, fingers curling around Adam like a womb. Tenenbaum's choice was never about saving children, it was about forcing a reckoning. Objectivism had razored away the softness of care, but these girls were softness made manifest. They walked with the sway of unbroken youth, their laughter a sound that clings to the throat. Men like Ryan built a city on the lie that altruism was weakness. The little sisters whispered the lies opposite in every pink-gloved reach. A harvester's drill screams. A girl's spine cracks like a snapped twig. Her blood pools in the grooves of the floor, warm against the cold. One witness staggers back, fingertips numb. Asterisk, this is what we called progress. Asterisk, he thinks. The guilt isn't quiet here, it hisses through pipes, stains walls. The girls were never victims. They were the mirror held up to a city that had forgotten how to look. Tenenbaum knew the calculus. Not all bodies trigger guilt, but the sesmol female, yearning for maternal scripts Rapture had bared, forced a wound open. Every saved girl was a blade twist, every harvested one a confession. The war wasn't for their souls. It was for the souls of those who watched, and in that, Tenenbaum won. Rapture's architects called it progress. They carved utopias from corpses, sold souls in silver. Tenenbaum saw the maternal guilt compounds faster than any debt. Objectivism claimed to transcend biology. It could not. Every harvested girl became a mirror, not to innocence. To the mothers who fled, the wives who worked, the women who kept the lie alive. A child's death was a ledger entry, a girl's, a haunting. The little sisters were never symbols. They were syntax, a language Rapture could not unlearn. To drain them was to force a reckoning. Let the ideologues rationalize murder. Let the fathers and lovers calculate costs, but girls. They carried a debt no equation could erase, a debt that clung to hands, to dinner tables, to sleep. Objectivism denied empathy as weakness. Tenenbaum proved it to be the one variable they'd never quantified. The collapse was not sudden, it was 1,000 quiet surrenders, a scientist pausing at a drain pipe. A wife refusing another ration. A man who once believed in self-interest, now trembling at the memory of a daughter. Rapture's sin was not its cruelty, it was its certainty. Tenenbaum gave them uncertainty, a girl's face. A choice between numbers and a heartbeat. They fell not because they were broken, because they were asked finalito feel. And in that feeling the city drowned. What if the rebellion's true blade was not in explosives but in expectation? Rapture's spires hummed with the metallic tang of salt and rust. A little sister drifts through a shattered atrium, her tank a prismatic coffin. Each step left a wake of guilt harvesters pausing, their hands trembling. Tenenbaum didn't just invert the city's logic. She weaponized its blind spots. Objectivism prized strength, yet here was weakness made sacred, a child's whisper in a world of roars. A scientist once argued choice, but the sisters were not data, they were a dirge. Their gender was no accident, it was a mirror held to Rapture's hollow chest. Men who'd scorned families now bled for phantom daughters they'd never named. The final strike wasn't a bomb. It was the weight of a mother's unasked forgiveness. And in that weight the city's engines sputter, a drowning not in blood, but in shame. What if the rebellion's true blade was not in explosives, but in expectation? Rapture's spires hummed with the metallic tang of salt and rust. A little sister drifts through a shattered atrium, her tank a prismatic coffin. Each step left a wake of guilt harvesters pausing, their hands trembling. Tenenbaum didn't just invert the city's logic. She weaponized its blind spots. Objectivism prized strength, yet here was weakness made sacred, a child's whisper in a world of roars. A scientist once argued choice, but the sisters were not data, they were a dirge. Their gender was no accident, it was a mirror held to Rapture's hollow chest. Men who'd scorned families now bled for phantom daughters they'd never named. The final strike wasn't a bomb.